To avoid a shutdown at about 2 a.m. Eastern time, passing a bill that funds the government through the end of September. But Republicans left for a 2-week recess without delivering crucial aid to Ukraine and Israel, as well as Taiwan. And overnight, Russian authorities detained 11 people following a terror attack at a concert venue just outside Moscow. The Russian government says at least 115 people are dead after several gunmen opened fire on the crowd. There were fears Moscow would blame Ukraine for the attack, but the terror group ISIS claimed responsibility in a post on Telegram. NBC News has not verified that claim, and ISIS did not provide proof for the attack. Joining us now in New York is New York Congressman Gregory Meeks, ranking member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee.
Congressman, so good to have you back on the program. Have you received a briefing on what has transpired in Russia?
Not yet. We are awaiting that. All that I know is that ISIS has taken the responsibility of causing that grave act in Russia. But I have not had any confirmations or anything of that nature. I hope to have something very shortly.
So just to talk about the stakes, how does that then complicate the dynamic in the region?
Well, look, it still, you see Russia's aggression in Ukraine, so there's no question about that. But it also shows that ISIS is alive and trying to do certain things in the region, and where the blame comes there. I think that we need to find out more. I need to find out more so I can understand the steps that took place. Whether or not there was some reports that have been out that their intelligence knew something and tried to warn Russia in that regard.
2 weeks ago, you had the U.S. Embassy putting out a bulletin saying that this was likely to happen.
That's right. So it's a lot, I think, there's still there to unpack. And so I want to reserve my comments until such time I get the briefing that is necessary so I can really get a full understanding of what took place, why it took place, who did it. So I'll reserve my comments until then.
So, Congressman, we have been up for an hour at this point talking about the implications of the lack of funding to Ukraine. Obviously, a government shutdown was averted overnight, but Ukraine aid, and I would also argue offer aid to Israel and Taiwan, was not included in that package. Where do negotiations on that stand right now?
Look, Simone, you're absolutely right. I think it's tragic that we're now on our Easter recess where we'll be working within our districts with no aid going to Ukraine. Israel, humanitarian humanitarian aid, as well as Taiwan. It's dangerous. We just saw the other day where Russia attacked the energy sectors of Ukraine. They say the greatest and most and the hardest type of bombing that has taken place thus far in the 2 years since the invasion. We've got to get something done. Now, there's dialogue and conversation that's going on, but what has to happen, Simone, in my opinion, is the bill that passed the Senate talking about one package for Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, humanitarian aid, and I might add, this was negotiated and basically something that was recommended by the Republicans. I was at meetings, whether it was in the Situation Room or the White House or on the Hill, where this is what they said they wanted. To not pass a bill where every day, every minute, every hour counts, is tragic in my estimation. So I would hope that the first thing that the Speaker takes up is this bill that was passed in the Senate, because let the House do its will. I believe if he simply puts the bill on the floor, over 300 members in a bipartisan way will pass it. And to hold it because Donald Trump and those that are part of the Republican Russian caucus, that's basically what they are, don't want it on there, is tragic and bodes against the leadership that we should have and be putting forward as the United States Congress.
Congressman, I would draw your attention to a tragedy a little bit closer to home. AP headline on Friday says, as gangs rampage through Haiti's capital, more than 33,000 people have fled in 13 days. What is your assessment of Haiti? What is the conversation in Congress about Haiti? because we ain't talking about Haiti. And it is a real tragedy right now. And it's not focused seemingly on the House side, the Senate side, or the White House to publicly address this issue. So what are you hearing? What is the feeling and the thoughts about the situation in Haiti right now?
Mike, I'm so glad you brought that up because it's been the focus that I've had just about for the last 2 weeks, the tragedy that's taken place in Haiti. And I can tell you that the administration has been focused on it also. The key here is we don't want, and the United States don't want to be put into a situation that have been, and sometimes they have done, where we are leading the scenario, telling the Haitian people what to do and what not to do. So it has been CARICOM and the Haitian community, the civic community, the religious community, the private sector that has been leading, trying to put together a government, well, you know, what we're calling is a transitional team of individuals to put Haiti's future in front of it. So we are hoping that, and CARICOM has been negotiating very closely because the gangs have taken over. This guy Barbecue and G. Philippe, you know, we know how they're bad guys, and they've been moving on with no one holding them accountable and putting them in jail. So I'm hoping that we are able to get this council together and then have the Kenyans come in because they have agreed to provide security along with Benin, who speaks French, to provide security and then give the Haitian people the room to have the dialogue and conversation without the gangs to come in and get things done. Now, there's one thing that is being held up right now that I think is very important. What the United States needs to put in is $40 million that's being held up by the Republicans in Congress that needs to go to the Kenyans to provide the security that is necessary. And we've got to get the Republicans to release that $40 million soon as the Transitional Council is set up so that they can be secured and protected. That's very important, and we're leaning in and we're talking, but that's the specific role that the United States has to play, giving the Haitians the space to do what they need to do. But it's tragic. If they don't do that $40 million, then we're going to be facing another migration crisis of Haitians coming across the border in both the southern border and in Florida in mass numbers.
It's such an important reminder because so often we talk about immigration as though it is something that only happens when people show up at our shores, when they show up at the U.S.-Mexico border. And in reality, there are all of those push factors, whether you're talking about Central America or you're talking about Haiti. I do want to make sure that we just quickly ask you about Israel. Here with Secretary Blinken, these remarks on Friday in Tel Aviv. Take a listen.
We share Israel's goal of defeating Hamas, which is responsible for the worst massacre of the Jewish people since the Holocaust. And we share the goal of ensuring Israel's long-term security. As we've said, though, a major military ground operation in Rafah is not the way to do it.
Clearly growing frustration on the part of the administration with Netanyahu's administration. Do you sense that we are moving towards a resolution?
Yeah, I would certainly hope so. And I think that the administration has been clear. Number one, we know that Hamas is a group that means no good for Israel and no good for anyone in the Middle East. I think Hamas is also harmful to the Gulf countries. They would like to get rid of Hamas. And so that has to happen. But it's how you do it, and you can't have thousands of innocent lives lost in the process. And so talking about and figuring out a way to get rid of Hamas without the deaths of thousands of innocent young individuals, mothers and fathers and uncles and aunts, is what has to happen. One example is what took place recently. Because of intelligence, Israel was able to go into a hospital in the new and got several key Hamas individuals without one innocent person or doctor or anyone being killed. So we got to look at that region, at that how that worked, but also the end result. two-state solution was something that the Biden administration has been very strong on, because we can't just go back to October 6th. We've got to change what has been taking place for 75 years in the region.
Very quickly, though, another complication here is the restrictions on funding to UNRWA. You have a lot of progressives very upset about it. Your thoughts?
I'm very upset about it. You know, we had to strike this deal in order to keep the government open, but we know that UNRWA is the only one that has the ability to get the aid to the people there. So that was a problem for me also. But I had to make some decisions, because you give and take when you do these budgets. So and I've been talking to a number of individuals and from other humanitarian organizations on how we can get resources to them, and they may be able to get resources to UNRWA or whoever else can get food and aid into the region. Absolutely key and essential.
Congressman Meeks, appreciate you being with us, waking up early to do so. Thank you.
If it makes you feel any better, I have already put evac on alert. He's ready to go if it comes to that. General, I can assure you.
Hey, General, let me into the war room to see you, so I had to hack my way onto this frequency.
This better be critical, Wheelie.
Sir, come on, when is it not, please? Okay, couple of things. I'm running low on the dough. I was thinking about taking a couple of months sick leave, maybe starting today. And, oh yeah, I intercepted a transmission from Megatron.
Then send it through.
Yes, sir, right away, sir. And so I'll assume that we're good on the other stuff.
This is your last warning, insects. Relinquish what remains of the Allspark.
So who's the insect? You? What? Who's the insect?
Protect you. They were defeated on our world, and we will defeat them here.
The Megatron.
This was just a diversion. Security, please bring up. Rabbit, she's already inside. Deeds! Give me an update on that reserve. What's readiness? What was his name? What was it?
Evac, sir.
Right, evac.
She's right in front.
We are facing a heavy sustained attack. They appear to be after the Allspark. General Marshall!